Did anyone in this group of people know each other before the contest started?
Nope.
No.
So was the first time everybody met in person at Dallas's Christmas party this year?
Yep.
In person.
Wow, that is absolutely special. Now, did I hear correctly that you had to get a COVID test within 2 days of the Christmas party in order to step through Dallas's door?
48 hours. Yep.
Yep. I waited 3 hours in the cold, right outside of West Baltimore, actually, to get my COVID test, because it was the only place that was doing rapid COVID tests in Baltimore that I could find.
And you made it. Now,
Yeah.
I was in Dallas's house last year, or I make that the year before last because we're now in 2021. But his house was a Christmas spectacular. Is that still the case? More Christmas stuff than you've ever seen before?
Very
Yeah, it was
much.
gorgeous.
It's better than Macy's.
Better than Macy's. So
Let's put it to shame.
So I'm glad that he's still at it and he loves Christmas and all that. But going back to you guys, something that I've not known until recently is that there's all these different subsects of the DDPY groups on Facebook. Like I'm aware of the Muscles for Misfits group because I come from punk and metal and all that. Okay, I'm seeing Justin shaking his fist. Scott,
Yep.
Are you there too?
I'm not, but I love punk and metal, so.
Okay, so do any of you represent a particular group or a subsect, almost like the NWO Hollywood?
It's kind of funny you bring that up. Does anyone want to share it and break it?
Well, so we're part of a bunch of these. Like I know that I'm part of the Sham Fam, and like I go and do Travis's classes, and I do Muscles for Misfits and a bunch of other ones. But we really bonded on this amazing adventure, and so we came together afterwards and said, okay, what next? Because that's kind of the people we are. We wanted to keep the momentum going because we had such a positive, engaging experience. And so what was next was kind of creating our own group. And so we have, as of yesterday, officially have our own page called The Unstoppable 4. And we have our Instagram and on Facebook. And so now we're kind of making our own faction, like you said. And so that's something that it's brand new. We've started to add people yesterday and create a space that people can come and talk about. What are you unstoppable for? You know, what's that, momentum that keeps you going? Why do you do stuff? How do you engage with people? And we all bring so many different things to the table with that we wanted to create that space that we could provide that to everybody as one.
That's wonderful. I see an unstoppable there from Justin.
There it is.
Yep.
Right. So that's really a fantastic thing because he's definitely representing. I think
Hell yeah, dude.
Because while you are all in a contest, and in many contests, people are kind of competing against each other. They want to win, and that's that. It seems like everyone is on the same page because everyone wanted to get results. That how often do you ever find that people are competing yet at the same time like each other and want to know each other after a contest?
None of us really gave a shit about the money or the contest, to be perfectly honest with you. We joined it to change ourselves, and like Scotty and I really didn't do much of the work. Like we did like the initial toe in the water, and then it was like, wow, that's a lot of work. I'm just going to keep doing this. The girls, like, they did the videos, like they did the work. And, at the end of the day, it just came down to the transformations, like Dallas said, the mental mindset. And then it was all the fine details. And I'll be honest right now, I was 1000% lazy on this challenge as far as videos. And I just did my thing, posted my stuff and rocked on and did, just kept moving.
Yeah, I actually didn't think I had enough content. I, took a video after watching like the week 1 guide when I first started, because it actually made me emotional, because I was so depressed. I was so hopeless that I really didn't think this was going to do anything for me. But I just was like, let me just do it, because I'll be kicking myself if I don't, at least try to videotape something. And so I had my husband videotaping me doing the workout the first week, which was like terrible. I was super embarrassed, but I was like, let me just do it, because if I have nothing, then I get to the end, then I'm going to be kicking myself. So but that was like basically it. That was all I took until about July when I started to get a little more confident. So when I got to the end of the challenge myself, I was like, I don't think I have enough content. And it turned out I had, I guess, more than, some other people, but I wasn't thinking I had much either. I know this year the people are really going to bring it though, because they know what is needed. So it's going to be tough competition. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not in this year's one.
Yep. No, absolutely. It was a very interesting, kind of a year with everything, because the four of us, all coming from different walks of life and our own journeys and everything. I got into this thing when I had 2 months left. I luckily was kind of tracking myself just for my own, personal stuff to kind of look at it. And I just backtracked everything, hopped in, had my last 2 months that I was a part, the community, which has been great. But the way I kind of looked at this coming out of Atlanta is, the four of us, all different walks of life, different journeys, different stories. Ultimately, what this challenge did is brought the four of us together, and we all had this unbelievable, surreal experience to be down there and hang out with the DDPY crew in Dallas and stuff. But we four spent so much time together, like us and our spouses, and we came out of this in a totally different place with like these amazing friendships. And we've been talking every day all together ever since. It's really, really something awesome.
Yeah, as I was saying before we started recording, when I first met Dallas 5-6 years ago, which was through an interview and we kept in touch, the main success story of DDPY was Arthur Borman, and he's still talking about Arthur to this day. I'm not sure if all of you know Arthur. Can I get a yes or a no?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what started me.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody who can watch Arthur's video and just not be inspired overall by the whole thing. So when Arthur was it. That was the one story. And he's almost becoming like this folklore, this Johnny Appleseed kind of character and all that. Did any of you have hesitation like, oh my God, if I put my story out there, people are they're gonna know me and I don't want that attention?
Yes.
I think there's a worry about perception, right? We live in a social media age. So I work in higher education, and so I have to be worrying about what I'm putting out there regardless for my own job, but then for my own self, right? Like you hear about the negativity, and you worry about the reception and what are people going to perceive. Because so what I did, for people who aren't familiar, is I post every single day, and I track the days on my Instagram and in the DDP yoga Facebook group. And so I was worried that would be too much, right? I would be bothering people, or they would be like, why is she in my face all the time? And I was just doing it for my own accountability, because if I knew if I posted every day, there'd be a deliverable, right? And so I think that part of that was, there was a concern about how it would be received, but it was the complete opposite. I have never felt more supported by any sort of like fitness or group or anything. Like the love of like this group, the Unstoppable Four, and the broader DDP community has been just like a huge part of why I continue to do this and have the success that I have had.
That's a great point. That what Caitlin just said, that a lot of people have that extra pressure from an employer that, hey, my public image has to be a certain way or else I run the risk of ruining my career. Did anybody else have hesitation, whether it's due to an employer or being a private or reserved person, about wanting to keep your journey private?
Well, I lost my job actually in March. I got laid off, and then I worked for an event photography company based in New York. And with that, you have to keep a certain perception, just, because we have clients and things like that. But then I got laid off, and I still in my mind was like, well, you still got to be, make sure that you're not posting anything to, like things that can get back to you. But on top of that, I also had a layer of like my own struggles that I was kind of embarrassed about. My mother had taken her own life 5 years ago, and I hadn't been able to talk about that up until maybe the last couple of months, publicly, particularly. I even had trouble talking about it privately. And so putting that out there for me was really hard, because I was just like, are people going to look at me and think the things that I think about myself? Like for a long time, I thought it was my own fault. I had a lot of shame and guilt with it. And so my feeling was, are people going to hear my story and, think those things about me? Are people going to look at me saying I had severe depression and, anxiety and all these things and judge me in a certain way? But after a while, you know, the DDP yoga community on Facebook is one of the most welcoming communities. I mean, it's literally the most positive thing on social media for sure. Like there's no doubt about that, but it's the most welcoming place. And when I started to post there and I got all the reception and the support, it made me like open up more, and it helped me so much to actually get my story out without feeling judged. And that's how it was like, it broke the ice for me. So at first I was a little apprehensive about posting certain things because I just didn't know how people would take it. But then after I started to tell my story and get that moral support back, that's when I was able to open up and really get it out there.
That's wonderful. Justin, I think you were about to say something as well.
I totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry, Justin.
You're thinking about your next
I didn't want my story out there. I wasn't going to tell none of it. You know, my wife's the one that started pushing me back in November of 2019. And that's when I first started posting, you know, and by then I'd lost, I don't know, almost 180 pounds or something like that, and started posting and whatnot. And then that's when she really started urging me to start talking about my suicide attempt and some other stuff. So I've really kind of jumped into that mental health side. And I don't, you know, my social media, I sure haven't tried to spare any expense, and I've tried to be as open and as brutally honest as possible, because like coming where I'm coming from, losing 400 pounds, I mean, there's no nice or easy way about that. I mean, it's just grunt labor. I mean, you're working off two more people. So, like I said, what's crazy is everybody has their own approach to this. Like mine is the no bullshit. I'm a carnivore. I work out every day. They tried to get me to eat vegetables. It's not happening. And, you know, that's just the way I am. And, you know, all four of us have our own approach. And I think what's going to make our group the most successful is we'll be able to come at this from four different angles.
Mm-hmm. Well, unless you have something to add to that, that actually leads to a question that I have, that something that was just said about being a carnivore, right? Do you have anything to add, Scott?
Yeah, just, I guess one little thing, I feel, just to kind of double back on how supportive the community is and everything. I feel like when you're talking about your health, whether it be physically or mentally, it really puts you in a very vulnerable position. Mm-hmm. I've never been shy about anything in my life. I've always been out there and open with things. So for me to post about this was different in a fact that I just have never posted anything about health before. So I didn't know how that comes across. Is that pretentious to say, hey, look at the success I had? So I just went with it, and you know, it was a ton of positive support, and now I'm in different phases with my journey now, which I never thought in a million years I would even share anything close to what I'm sharing with people right now. But that just goes to show how supportive and positive this community is. And we've all got each other's backs no matter where we're at in our journey.
You shirtless heathen, you.
Well, when it comes to diet, if you ask 20 people what diet they follow, you're going to get 20 different answers, maybe even 25 different answers, because they change it up when they don't get results. The DDPY app has great recipes. Of course, Dallas expounds. Is that the word, expound? Do we have any English major here? Okay.
Yeah, English major here.
Yeah, exactly. He talks about the gluten-free living, and it's not as if you have to follow what he says, but he has a lot of great ideas about non-GMO and gluten-free living and all that. But how do all of you achieve your dietary goals? Is it, say, Weight Watchers? Is it no carbs? I'm curious to hear how each of you do it, because it's not just about the exercise per se. There is diet. In fact, diet might even be most of it.
Yeah, I think diet is definitely like a huge portion of it, because Ddpy says it himself, you can't out-train a bad diet. And that is the truth, because I've done it. In the past, I would try to, you know, jump on the treadmill for an hour and try to lift weights. And, you know, I would see like the scale would move. Gee, I wonder what that's about. And it's like, oh, maybe it's because you ate like an extra 1,000 calories this week you weren't supposed to, you know? So for me, I had a binge eating and emotional eating situation going on at the same time, because like literally anything stressed me out, I would run to food. But then I wouldn't just run to some food, I would run to a lot of food. And I was eating fast food 7 days a week in the beginning of this year. That's the point I was at. And between that and like 4 to 5 pints of Haagen-Dazs a week, I was, just continuously gaining weight. So for me, what changed me was COVID happening, because nobody knew how it transferred when it first came into the country. And so I was like, maybe maybe it can transfer on food containers. Like, I better stop eating takeout. And so I started cooking at home, and that was like when things just completely changed. But as far as diet, I started doing intermittent fasting. And for me, that was a game changer, because it gave me control over my, like, this emotional eating and binge eating. It was kind of like I gave myself a set time to eat, and that's it. That's when you're eating. And then on top of that, I restricted my calories to like 12 to 1400 a day. And I never cut out anything specific. I try to eat as, I try to eat like I don't go completely organic. I don't go completely non-GMO, but I try to pick those options when they're available. Mm-hmm. So if I see non-GMO, I'll definitely go that route. But I basically just try to do things in a portion kind of way. Like, I don't go crazy with the carbs. I don't go crazy with the fats. I try to do everything in a portioned way. And it worked. Like, doing between the intermittent fasting, keeping the calories in check, and doing portioned, different food groups, I've been pretty good with it. I also just stay away from, like, the obvious things that were trigger foods, like ice cream and all the sugary stuff, and I'm good.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what worked for me.
Good answer. Now, I haven't asked Caitlin anything aside from an English grammar question playing off her educational career path there. Caitlin, can you volunteer your information next about diet and all that?
Yeah, sure. So some of mine is very similar to Candi's. So growing up, I dealt with eating addiction and binge eating. And so, that's a really nasty cycle of I don't feel good, so I eat, and I eat because I don't feel good. And so to break that cycle, it's taken me 31 years, and I'd still fight that every day. And what did it for me also was intermittent fasting, because it's the structure and control, right? And as long as you're able to hold yourself to that, like, that really helped me. So really what I do is one large meal a day in the evening, promptly after this. And so
we won't keep you too long. Don't worry.
You're good. But yeah, I did do Dallas's phase 3 eating, which is gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. Like, I do have to cut out a lot. I have several autoimmune disorders. And so with those, it's highly recommended that you don't have inflammatory foods, which is gluten and dairy. And so to help my joints, I really make sure I keep those out of my diet as much as possible. They sneak gluten in everything, so it's hard to be super like 100%, but yeah, as much as I'm able. So it's really meats and veggies all the time. I don't waste calories on beverages, so it's almost water, like all day every day with some tea or something. But yeah, it's really just making sure I have like a really strict structure, because I've tried a bunch of other things and they just didn't work for me. And that's what I constantly say when people do ask me what I eat, is what works for me may not work for you at all, because it's that trial and error over 15 years of me trying to like lose weight, that it finally clicked.
Great answer as well. Who's next? Are we going to see a fight between Scott and Justin right now to who can talk sooner? Or
first blood match? Yeah, I'll be brief with mine, because it's very similar. Intermittent fasting, I still do, which was a huge help. And for me, I feel like it was allowing to have the discipline and break that habit of eating for pleasure, where you're more eating to fuel your body, just to get that mindset. But yeah, I've stuck to low carb, high protein, completely cut sugar out. And the way that I've kind of spoken with everyone who's kind of reached out, just, asking for guidance and stuff, is, what really helped me was the mental approach. I don't look at it as a diet. I look at it as making a lifestyle change. Even though you're kind of doing the same things every day, the approach for that, me mentally, helped me to not think about making the right choice. I just knew the choice I was already making, so I didn't have to overthink food anymore. So that was a big help, just to mentally overcome that hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last but definitely not least there, Justin.
We started out, I cut sugar and grains and carbs and stuff out. I was just looking at 711 days ago was my last sugary anything. So we started out keto. I was eating it, and the cool thing about it was, my first month was green vegetables, meat, and water. And I would eat till I was full, because I was a binge eater. I was an addictive eater. And so anytime I'd get a craving, I'd go in there and, start eating lean protein, green vegetables, chugging water until I was full. And you can only do that so much before your body goes, whoa, we're full of fuel. And you start burning down the good stuff. And I noticed the more and more stuff I cut out, the more I went to more of a carnivore lifestyle, the better and better I felt. So, for me, 90% of the time I eat meat, eggs. I do still eat cheese and dairy. Cheese is about the extent of it, and it's got to be whole cheese. It can't be pre-grated or anything. It's got to come. I've got to make sure it's good stuff. I don't, that's the one thing I won't do is buy cheap cheese. Beef, stuff like that, I could go with what's on sale. So it could be pork one week, it could be chicken, but it's all meat.
Well, all this is really great to hear because it's not just one answer that's getting everybody results. A few people are IF, a few people are cutting out the intolerance-inducing foods. There isn't one answer, so it's really great to see everybody getting results in different ways. Now, my next question, I think everyone's gonna have a different answer. What is your favorite DDPY workout? Mine is on the moon.
Can I say one more thing on mine?
Please do.
You were saying talking about the anti-inflammatory and stuff like that. Mine is also from an addiction point of view too. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure to fit that in there because that's why we've cut sugar and stuff, because I approach it like a narcotic or an alcoholic. That's my dietary approach. Right now, if somebody was to slip me something that was sugar or something, I could spit it out and be pissed at them and move on and be fine. But a year ago, man, I don't know. That could have been a trigger and I could have gained back all the weight and finished the job I started in 2018. So that's where I'm coming from the addiction point of view. So sorry to cut that in, but I just wanted to make that.
Good point. It's a good point though, because really food is a crazy thing because it's kind of, you can get addicted to it like it's a drug, but you have to eat. People don't have to do drugs, obviously, but you have to eat to live. Yeah. So it's kind of just such it's a thing you have to manage every day. I come from an addictive background. My mother was, like I said, an alcoholic and a drug addict. And so for me, it's always kind of I always looked at food like it was a problem in that kind of respect. And it's for me, like Caitlin and Scott as well, intermittent fasting was the thing that broke that for me in a crazy way. It just was like something that clicked. So that's been a big help with that.
And rehashing DDP on the moon. I think you are all like me where there's certain phrases that Dal says in the workout that the second or third time you do that workout that that phrase is in your head and you find yourself saying it during the day, and you meet other people who are also followers of DDPY and you say those phrases at each other. I'm curious, which ones are your go-tos? I see some thoughts there. Scott,
I'll run with it quick. So my whole journey was actually on the old school YRG discs, and I recently just got to the app after Atlanta. Actually, it's something I was wanting to do, and then after talking with these three, they're like, "You got to get your ass on the app," and I'm like, "All right." So now I'm on the app with the YRG discs. My two go-tos forever were Fat Burner and Diamond Cutter, just because they worked really good with what I was doing. I love them. I don't even know if it's so much of a catchphrase, but something I noticed months into doing these that I get a kick out of every time I see it now is in Diamond Cutter. When Dallas chops Yoga Doc, and I've never noticed it until so much later, but when he gives him this beast chop, and I always hear him say, Yoga Doc loves that. And I thought he was just talking about doing the Diamond Cutter whole cup. And then I caught him chopping him, and I was just like, oh, right on, So that was pretty cool.
One quote, before I ask Caitlin that same question, one quote that gets set a lot in this household, squeeze your glutes. If you don't know what those are, it's your butt.
Yeah.
That's a quote that gets said a lot. But Caitlin, do you have a favorite or favorites?
I don't know. I worked through almost all the workouts over time. Like my goal was, I'm one of those people that's like when I'm playing a video game or something, like I'm full completion. I'm grunting the way through. So like I slowly started to work my way through every single one. I love a lot of the ones where they recorded them at the performance center, the ones that are available on the app, because it changes it up. I've done Diamond Cutter, Energy, Fat Burner, Stand Up. I've done them so many times. Yeah, I can say all the lines with Dallas. I was doing one with my husband the other day. And I literally didn't realize until he noticed it. I was saying everything with him because I just know them, right? Like he goes, "Oh, I love being a shameless self-promoter," or like, "And we're going home," and like all these like different things. And I just was saying them because I got so used to it over time. But I think that's one of the great parts of Dallas is like he's so engaging with that you're just like doing the catchphrases with him. But I really lately have been doing a lot of Hayden's workouts because Hayden is up there in terms of kind of intensity and difficulty. And so when I really need that push, which is what I've been feeling lately, is a lot of Hayden's live workouts, which I love. He does some stuff called Alligator, which really challenges my core, but I really love. So I've been doing a lot of his. But majority of ones I actually do are on the Zoom workouts with Travis Mahaffey and the Sham Fam. So those have also been like the majority of my workouts lately too.
Cool. Justin?
Energy from the YRG DVDs, like I have that memorized. Like if they were to like I'm working on my my level 1 certification. So if they're like, hey, if anybody can do energy from the YRG, you get your certification, I'm in. Because for the first 2 months I did this, the first month I couldn't make it 10 minutes through that. That's what I had was the DVDs.
Yeah.
So, I spent 2 months till I could do energy. So that one, my go-to on the app, because we have a lot of friends that want to come work out with us now, is honestly Stand Up with Big G. As much as I hate to admit that and give Big Garrett props and stuff, because Team Red Headband's going down. It's a good fun one. It'll be like a little bit of workup and then he'll talk. So that gives folks a break. It's not really hard. It's a blue, but it's a good fun one that you just have fun with. It's a balance workout. So that's our go-to on the app.
Yeah, and Garrett is fantastic. I've met him in person a few times. He's attainable versus social media. Great part of that team over there. And
yes,
Candi,
sir.
Do you have a favorite or favorites?
I love the jacked workouts. When I was getting towards the end of the beginner work, like I started in April 30th, right? Like I literally signed up the last day for this challenge because I didn't have any faith that I was really like, it took me 2 weeks of staring at the Positively Unstoppable page to finally go, all right, I'm going to do it. And it was like 11 o'clock on April 30th. It was the craziest thing that it ended up this way after all that. But so when I started when I was about 2 weeks before the beginner program was out, and I actually kind of did a custom thing. Like when you start a program, they give you a schedule, but I wanted to do 5 days a week straight instead of like every other day. So I ended up just going through and removing everything and mostly did like the live performance center beginner workouts when I started. But just as I was starting to get towards the end of the beginner program is when the jack stuff started to come out. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, let me try these. And I loved them because they really pushed you and challenged you. And now that we have the jack straps, it's like now it just like took it to another level. So I just love all of them. I particularly think though, there's a few that I really like I love the Jack 10 because he's got Ice Train's sons in there. And
really?
Yeah, and they do some stand-up stuff there, which is cool. And I think Jack, was 13. Lexi takes the front and she's doing like the rap and burn, which I like because it really does challenge you. So, I mean, all the Jack stuff is great. I mean, and there's a couple like in the first Jack one where they're doing broken table and as Dallas does, he starts talking about he just starts talking about the back, these are all exercises that strengthen the back. And you hear people complaining in the background and he goes, no, guys, you got to hang a little. That always makes me laugh. So there's things that you do these workouts so much, you start to get the lines. And for me, it's funny. I'm a Law and Order person. I love Law and Order. I've seen every Law and Order episode probably 4 or 5 times, but I'll still watch it. So it's kind of like that with the workouts. I'm like, I can watch do these workouts over and over and over because I'm just like that kind of person that enjoys like something I know already, you know, like I know what's coming next. Whenever I do a new jack workout, I'm like, oh God, he's going to get me because I don't know like what's coming, you know? So.
Cool.
I have to throw in too that I also do a lot of workouts on Zoom over at Sham Fam. And then I also work out quite a bit at Project Mayhem, which is Sarah Fortune with From Muscles from Mayhem and Be Unstoppable with Tom Millett.
Well, that leads back to the earlier thing where there are these great subgroups, almost like the NWO had all theirs. But I've one more question for everyone to answer, and then you're free, and Caitlin can have that glorious, glorious dinner that we're keeping her from. And that question is, and if you don't want to expound on it, I tried to use that word again, say just a few words, but the question for each of you, and I'll start with Scotty first. Are you where you want to be, or are you still working towards somewhere?
I'm still working 100%. And I think what keeps me in that mentality, Matthew McConaughey, I've been listening to a lot of motivational stuff on this journey too. And Matthew McConaughey had this amazing quote where someone came and asked him, who's your hero? And he says, well, let me think about it. And he gets back to him and he's like, my hero is me 10 years from now. And 10 years later, he came back and asked again, who's your hero? And he said, well, I haven't met my hero because my hero now is me 10 years from now. I think having that mentality and that feeling of continuing to work and grind keeps you thirsty for more. And if you're going to be disciplined and you're going to go through these life changes and transform your body and your mind this way, it's good to stay hungry so you don't get comfortable. So I'm always pushing for what's next. 100%.
Cool. Justin, you next?
That's kind of what was weird is when we were in Atlanta, like I hit my weight loss goal. Like, it's like, okay, well, I'm done. So you're like, the last 2 weeks have been kind of rough because you're kind of like, okay, now what? So soul searching and stuff over the holidays. I've been assigned my mentor for my level 1 certification. Travis Mahaffey, by the way. So we're starting on that. So we're going to take all of the focus from my weight loss, put that towards my level 1. And then I started working out with the jack straps after Atlanta too. So I'm starting to track that kind of progress and those measurements with pictures and stuff like I did my weight loss. So that way I can give an honest analysis or an honest verdict on the jack straps here in about the next 3 months or so.
Well, congratulations on hitting that number, and also congratulations for evolving with the technology and keeping it going on all ends. Caitlin, where are you at?
So I am constantly looking for that next challenge. You'll see in my posts, like I'm constantly pushing myself. I still have another 35 pounds until like my goal weight, but
wait. She ran 6 miles in an hour today.
Wait, that means 10-minute miles on average.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
She ran 6 miles in an hour today in the cold and shit. I mean, come on now.
Thank you.
Well, some of us aim higher, you know.
Well, that's like, I'd never gone that fast before, right? Like, so that's like, I think that's for me is like, I always need that like metaphor cookie, right? Like I need something to chase. And so, yes, I still have 35 pounds left to lose. But like, I know that even if I hit that, like there's going to be something else. Like I've always, like I started the jack thing. So like now, what am I doing with that? How can I start, engaging with that more? Or I have a women's group that I chat with. We have a spreadsheet, some type A. I have my dry erase board. I'm always tracking everything. And so for me, like I'm still posting pictures every day. I'm still updating. That's how they, knew I ran. And so I think that because a lot of people ask me, are you going to keep doing the post every day? And yeah, because this is what's actually worked. So I think just continuing to push to the next level and find that challenge. Because, a year ago, I couldn't run a minute. And now obviously I can run for, a long time. And so, I couldn't do a workout that was longer than 15, but now I'm ready to do a 2-hour, we did 2-hour class the other night, didn't blink, right? It felt great. Went the next morning, did another run. So, always pushing myself. There's always a higher rung on that ladder.
Wonderful. And Candi, please, you have the floor to also respond to this question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be finished ever because there's always something like again, like Dallas says, there's always some place to go, and there really is. And with this workout, there is always some place to go. I still can't do a push-up. at all. Like I've been doing this for 8 months, but it's just not happened yet. So that's like my first goal. After that, I really want to go for certification myself. And I actually want to go for personal training certification. And as a person who's worked on a computer for 20 years, barely moved, didn't leave her house sometimes for like 2 weeks because I was just so severely depressed. It's kind of crazy that I'm like at a point now where I feel like I want to engage with people. I mean, I was hiding from people for years. Now I want to help people because I see what this has done for me. This has changed my life in the most positive way. I was going down like the worst hole of depression, and I've come out of it to the other side. Now, am I 100%? No, I'll never be 100%. I've went through way too much, and it's like that kind of stuff takes a toll on you. But I'm working at it every day and learning how to live with everything and just kind of like go forward from that. So the mental thing is always going to be a work in progress, and physically it's a work in progress as well. I think I have about like 10 more pounds I'd like to lose and see where I'm at. And also I have the jack straps as well. So I'm working at that and tracking that. And so, getting stronger and more flexible. I have Hashimoto's, like Caitlin, I have autoimmune issues. So for me, this program is managing my pain. Mm-hmm. And so like that, this will never be something I stop doing, but I would like to get stronger at it and more flexible and do a damn push-up for once in my life. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Just like what we were talking about with the diet, everyone has a different approach. Everyone has different goals, but not to sound cheesy or canned, but you're all inspiring, and really what all of you are doing. Thank you. Thank you for setting a great example that you can turn things around if you put in the work. And I just don't want to start crying. So that's why we're going to have to end this call now. So thank you all so much for your time, and just keep on doing whatever it is you're doing.
Thank you, Darren. Yours as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Enjoy your dinners, and we'll get this posted soon.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Paltrocast.